Hi, this is Lady Lex UK and this is Reconstructing Art's Dream. Right, last week we started the process. We made the little intro at the beginning. We had the bass notes, the double bass notes with the string, the glowing string, and some special effects. And we just placed in a double bass that I grabbed from the Dreamyverse because there wasn't a case, and try to recreate the next bit of animation. I've tidied it up a little bit. I'm not going to do any more on this. I'm not going to put in the name of the dream and everything because that's pretty much the same technique as I showed you with the text at the beginning. So I'm going to leave that. And the next thing, after I've shown you this, we're going to go into the doorway, the corridor, and that section. But before we do that, I'm going to show you the technique for putting graffiti or paint strokes or whatever onto an object. So let's just see what we've got so far. Anyway, let's see. Right, so we've got our double base here. I'm going to draw a design on the back of it using paint mode. So we go into paint mode here. I'm going to choose my colour. I'm going to go with the white like it is in the game. And if I was to try and paint now, paint a design onto my double base here, there we go. I've painted my design on, but then when I look at it, it's like, oh, that's not part of it. And it is possible to get this sort of thing going on where you think you've got you think you've painted it straight and it's not, it's nowhere near, it's all over the place. So this isn't the way to try to do paint strokes if you're wanting to make a flat sticker design. Let's go into tools. We're going to change it to draw flex. I find that this is a much finer, much nicer line. If I stamp it down there, you can see there is our fleck, and I can move up and down with the D-pad to get the size I want. We're going to use the guide, and we're going to use surface snap. Now, don't confuse this with the surface snap of the gadgets. This does not make it part of this object. All it is doing is using the surface as a plane for painting on. But it is creating a completely separate item. It's not becoming part of the double base at this point. So I've got my my paint, and I'm now going to do my design. You can do it in one go, so one complete line, or you can stop and start, so let go of your X button as you're doing your design. I'm just randomly doing something here. It's sort of nice. There we go. So there's our design on the back of our double base. Now it isn't currently part of the double base. You can see it's on the surface there, but it's not part of the double base yet. But let's say I'm going to scope out. I've done it. I've done my design, and I'm thinking, actually, no, I want it to do something else. I want it to add to this. So you can add to it. So I'm going to use a different color so you can see. I'm going to carry on painting. I'm going to add some more bits to my design. Scope out. Now we can select both. I've selected the double base there. Nope. Got to try and select the. Nope. It's selecting the double base again. Right, hang on. So paint and let's do the white one first. There we go. That's easy. There we go. Once you've selected both paint pieces, you get this nice orange snaky thing, and you can merge the paintings together. And now this is one painting. There we go. It's one painting, and as you can see, it is completely flat. Is the right. Now I've moved that out of position. It's a bit awkward, but anyway, it's completely flat, and you can use it as a sticker on anything. And we're going to scope it in. So I'm holding onto it with the R2 button, and I'm going to press L1 and cross, and I'm going to scope in. Keep going in until it won't scope in anymore to our double base. So I'm going to lay it on, try and get it as close as possible without it going inside. Try and get it straight. Boom. So that design is now on my double base. And if I scope out and I move the double base, it will move with it. The other thing that we have in Art's Dream with this design, if we can scope in to the painting properties, it glows like that. There we go. So in a darkened room, that will light up and be nice and bright. So there we go. So we can change the glow on the painting like that. Right, okay, so that's that done. So now we're going to have a look at the corridor. Right, so I've made my corridor. I've put in a door and a light switch. The corridor walls here with some wallpaper effects and stuff on, and I've put a light in the corridor and also a spotlight on the light switch to give the player indication that they need to do something with that. We need to put in a player character so we can walk towards the door. So I'm going to use Media Molecules Quick Start Collection, and I'm going to go into Contraptions and find First Person Character. Here it is. So we'll pop that in our world like that, and we're just going to need to manipulate this a bit. So let's open up the logic if we can get it to do it. There we go. Right, so on this page of logic then we have a switch to turn on the imp, so let's do that because we want the imp to manipulate our surroundings. And we're going to go into logic processing, And this is displaying the controls. So we don't want to display the controls. So I'm just going to turn that off, so we don't get the text up in the corner. And we'll just shut that down. Make sure we're out of the puppet. Right, okay. So we've got our first person puppet in and an imp. So let's put in some of the controls for our game mechanics for the switch and the door. Right, let's do the switch first. So I'm going to put down a microchip. And we're going to name our microchip light switch. Okay, and if you want, you could give it an icon like that, light switch. Let's open it up. Okay, so we're going to put a grab sensor in here. That's one of those. And we're going to grab this lever here. So you want to make sure that particular sculpt, that little lever, is separate from the rest of it. And you need to set grab to be on. I think it's probably ignore as a default, so you need to change it to grab so that you can grab that little lever. And then we need to wire sense grab to the little lever, like so. Right, so when we've sensed the grab, I want to have a sound effect. So I'm going to go into sound mode, search, sound effects, and I found an antique light switch which I like. So I'm going to put that in. And when it's grabbed, it's going to play that sound of the antique light switch going on and off. Right, now we need to set it up so that we have a toggle, so that if I switch it on and it's off, it turns the light on. If I switch it off when it's on, it turns the light off. So we're going to need to put in a toggle switch, and the best way to do that is with a signal manipulator. So grabbed goes into the input of the signal. I'm going to send it to custom remapper, and I'm going to select toggle, and I'm going to, the signal here then is going to go out and is going to turn on and off of our light. But we want this switch to actually do something, so we're going to put in a keyframe. And I'm just going to move this into the position that I want it to be when the light switch is turned on. There we go. That's our toggle, and we're going to link that up like that. Now we don't want a slow down or anything like that. We'll make sure that is at 0 because we want it to be an instant switch on and off. Okay, so let's have a look at that and see what happens. So we have our first person. Now he's a bit small, so before we do anything else, let's make him a bit bigger so that he matches the size of the door. Let's put him up against the door and see how big does he need to be. Actually, that's probably about right. Maybe a little smaller. There we go. Let's put him back. Right. Let's try that again. There we go. So we go R2, and that turns on our light, and R2 again, and it turns it off. So we've got this effect of turning the switch, switching the switch with our imp when we press R2. So there's our switch. Perfect, so that works lovely. Right, let's turn that off. Now we'll do the door. I've made the door. There's a door frame, there's a door, there's also this handle. This is all done separately so that I can have different textures. I've used some paint to make an opaque or slightly transparent, not opaque, slightly transparent or slightly opaque, is either way, window there. And I've drawn on a design for the window so that door is all the way through. You can see through into the other room. I've got a connector here. This has got limiters on, so you turn the limits on, and these are the yellow gizmos here. You put it the position it is for opening the door. So if I was to grab the door and open, you can see the blue gizmo only moves between those two yellow places, and you decide at what point each of those positions are for your door. There we go. It just makes it easier when we're doing this. So let's put in our microchip. So this is going to be our door. Okay, again, we're going to need a grab sensor. And I'm going to wire that up to the door handle, like so. And I'm going to use the imp stretch. I want there to be a pull feeling from the player. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a timer in. And I'm going to say when the imp is stretched, it's going to start this timer. I think we'll give the player 3 seconds of pull before the door will open. And I'm going to need a NOT gate to say if they stop stretching that imp, it's going to reset that timer. So they have to hold it for 3 seconds before the door will open. Now we need to stick in our keyframe. And this is going to be the door in its open position, like so. And we're going to set that keyframe to keep changes, and it's going to have a slow power up so that it swings open. And when that timer is finished, it's going to have a pulse. So we're gonna timer output, timer finished signal. There we go. So that is going to open up the door. Let's see what happens when we try that. So we'll pull. Yeah, I thought so. Right, in that case, what we're going to do is we'll put in a counter. So when that's finished, that increases the counter and that turns that on. So let's try that now. Oh, we need to rewind it. There we go. Whoops. We can walk up. Turn on our light. Drag our door open. There we go. And now our door is open and we can go through. Again, we've got no sound effects. So let's put a sound effect of the door opening. Let's search for door. And we're going to look for a sound effect. That'll do. We'll stick that in. And we'll stick that in, linking up to the counterfall. Let's rewind. Let's try that again. There we go. And now we've got an opening door and a door switch. Okay. So I hope that was useful for you all. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.